Reporting from Popular Mechanics, during the Cold War era, the U.S. Air Force acquired several Soviet MiG fighters for training purposes. Warplanes were used not only to study Soviet technology, but also to train American pilots against enemy jets in real time. A former U.S. F-15 pilot described his experience flying against MiG-21 and MiG-23 fighter jets over the Nevada desert. The race for military supremacy during the Cold War had many unusual twists and turns, and one of the most bizarre was the secretive American attempt to acquire Soviet fighter jets. MiG fighter jets, flown by U.S. Air Force pilots under the secret program Constant Peg, were used to familiarize American pilots with what would become their main enemy should World War III erupt. Now, 36 years later, a former F-15 pilot has detailed his own experiences flying against Soviet warplanes. In the 1960s, U.S. intelligence made secret defense spending. The Central Intelligence Agency bought or leased Soviet fighter jets from a number of countries, often through pilot defections, arrests, or even from the Soviet Union itself. The Soviet aircraft were then passed on to the U.S. Air Force, which then translated the instruction manual into English, if applicable, and some of its best pilots flew the foreign aircraft. The catch includes the MiG-19 Farmer, MiG-21 Fishbed and MiG-23 Flogger fighter jets collected from countries such as Israel, China, Egypt and Indonesia. The secret program, known as Constant Peg, arranged a small fleet of MiG jets to the 4,477th Testing and Evaluation Squadron. Once the U.S. pilots took control of the Soviet aircraft's operations, they were scheduled to fly against American fighter pilots on the front lines. Its aim was to show U.S. pilots the real thing in action, with all its advantages and disadvantages of Soviet fighter jets. Then, they must find a way to defeat him. One of those frontline pilots, Paul Woodford, a former U.S. Air Force F-15 pilot, Woodford recounts his unforgettable one-day encounter with the Constant Peg plane on the incredible Hush Kit Aviation blog. Woodford reminisces about being in Nevada participating in one of the Air Force's famous red flag exercises, when he was taken to the Constant Peg program. Although Woodford had heard rumors of a secret Soviet aircraft in U.S. service, those rumors were not mere rumors. We took turns dogfighting against Fishbed, which turned out to be very nimble and fast-turning, hard to see due to its small size, and hard to get gunfire tracking. Fishbed fighters use afterburners and have enough fuel to fly for about 20 minutes. Our MiG-23 pilot demonstrated how it flew, which was just as bad as the fight, difficult to control and unstable, especially with the wing swept backwards. What it can do well, as the pilot showed us, is make a high-speed, high-angle strike, and then run. It accelerates a way that I have never seen before. According to Woodford, it is fortunate to take the points home with missile fire because of the fast movement of the MiG, and preferably if the opportunity arises, the pilot immediately shoots, because in 1 second MiG will accelerate out of the firing space. According to him, the aerial duel could be an object of study. The F-15 does have a top speed advantage, but it won't have enough fuel to catch up with a flogger who is determined to get out of the firing space.